think we can both agree that the sound coming from the Tacoma's driveline is not good. You spray some WD-40 onto the center carrier bearing. I was hoping to see if that stopped the noise, or at least maybe indicate that the noise was coming from the center carrier bearing. Unfortunately, I didn't hear a noise change. Either I wasn't getting to the right spot with the WD-40 wasn't gonna make a difference anyways, or it's not the center carrier bearing and it's potentially the U-joints. I've never used one of these. I'll learn together, or maybe you have and I'm just gonna look silly. I'm using some Valvoline multi-grease. It says it's good for U-joints. Should be good for my application. We start by unscrewing this thing, and you pull the plunger back, remove the plastic end. I think I do the pop top. I can say with almost certainty that the noise is coming from here, not the U-joint up here or way back there. I'm gonna start here, do one at a time, test the sound, and see if that fixes it. I believe you have a U-joint and then maybe a second U-joint, and then you have this centerpiece, which you may not be able to see, but it's a different type of joint, all-purpose cleaner. I'm gonna clean up the little nipple portions that we have to put the grease gun onto.
Nice.
So we're not shoving grime and stuff through that system. That looks pretty good. Never done this before. Kind of just goes right on. I can hear it start to push out the old grease. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna move to the next one. Again, can hear it start to bubble and crack, which indicates that it's pushing out air and old grease. And I can actually see that happening a little bit. That should be good. I think now I wanna try and start the truck and see if we still hear the noise. Yesterday, I was able to conclude that greasing the U-joints did not solve the problem. Now, I can't say for certain that it is the center carrier bearing. At this point, I'm willing to take a chance and get a new one. The reason I can't say with 100% certainty that it's the center carrier bearing is because it could still potentially be a U-joint. It could be that the U-joints went so long, maybe without grease, that they rusted internally or are starting to rust. Maybe components are just wearing down. So I don't want to totally eliminate the U-joints just because I greased them. However, upon searching on the forums, I actually found a group of guys that were discussing options aside from true OEM Toyota center carrier bearings because they're pretty expensive. I think now they're either $200 or north of $200. So I've actually ordered what could possibly be a cheaper, still Toyota OEM alternative. Let's just say it cost me less than half of what it would have cost me to get a new Toyota OEM from Toyota. So we're gonna transition from the Toyota over to the Honda, because the Honda needs an oil change and desperately needs some wiper blade. Just about ready to put the CB7 Accord back down on the ground. I got the filter changed, new washer on the drain bolt, got it torqued down. Couldn't find on the internet, silly enough, the torque spec for the Honda. We found a couple numbers, closest being in about the average of 30 foot-pounds, so that's what I went with. While I was underneath there, found out where our coolant leak is coming from. This car has been overheating occasionally. It does require bleeding of the coolant really often, and now that I see the leak, that makes sense, because we couldn't figure out where the air was continuously getting in, but it's on the back side of the motor above the oil pan. I will show you guys a picture of it right now. Based on location, seems to me like water pump. If not, some component near the water pump has failed. It could just be time for a new water pump and timing belt. Now that I've let the car warm up to operating temp, I'm gonna check the level of oil, the new oil, once more. And the level is actually a little bit below, so I think I'm gonna add just a little bit more oil. That should do it. But like I said, I'll check this again once maybe we drive the car and we're in a very level parking lot, gas station, something that's almost required to be level. Check it again, see where it's at, adjust accordingly. Last but not least for the Accord today, is we gotta replace these wipers. These are terrible. So I've got some new ones. Funny enough, I worked at an auto parts store for a while, so I'm very, I like to say pretty good at doing wiper blades now, and these are actually one of the easiest ones, or the easiest. It's just a simple J-hook. The amount of times, man, I've been out in parking lots in the rain with like someone's brand new Mercedes where you have to have the wipers go midway and then you can fold them because they're gonna catch the hood, and then plus they have special clips and you can't use the standard ones, so you gotta swap them out, and the whole time it's raining. This is much easier. Here's the passenger side old one. As you can tell, the rubber is just falling off. And the reason you don't want this to happen is because not only will it suck when it rains, but if all this rubber comes off or this fails and somehow the wiper just hits and makes contact with your windshield, it'll either scratch it, crack it, and you'll be looking at replacing the whole windshield instead of a $10, $15 wiper blade. And just like that, almost got some new wiper blades. While I'm waiting on the center carrier bearing to get here, and let me show you something else. My driver's side door handle is also broken. When you pull it, it's actually cracked on the back side here. The plastic has given way. So you have to kind of like hold the whole hinge to be able to open it. But if you just pull the handle, it's not enough to open it. You got to pull the actual plastic that's broken. New door handles on the way. With that being said, as you can see, I've got the solar setup ready to go. And now I actually have an AGM sealed battery. This is a diehard platinum battery. It's an AGM, so it's fully sealed, which means it does not off gas when it's charging or being used. It also is non-spillable, so if it does tip over, doesn't matter. As far as specs go, it's a 700 cranking amp, not that I'm gonna ever use that, 120 reserve capacity, 70 amp hours. It's not a very impressive battery, but it's enough to keep me powered up in the camper with lights, charging cell phones, things of that nature. I've been questioning how I'm gonna fit all of this into the camper, and ideally, obviously this needs to be mounted to the roof, so it's actually absorbing sunlight, but I don't want to drill holes into this brand new camper shell that I just restored, and I don't have a roof rack for the cab yet. So it's just going to live inside the truck, and I'm going to pull it out when needed to charge. As for the battery and the Renogy solar controller, I'm going to mount those in here. I'm going to tuck the battery as far back as it can up against the wheel well, and then mount the solar controller probably up here against the wood on the inside. This is a 750 watt Synwave inverter. I think I'm just going to keep this in storage until I'm ready to use it, and then I'll pull it out, hook it up to the battery. I don't want to leave it or mount it anywhere permanent, especially with these alligator style clips. It's too prone to mishaps, things popping off, sparks. I do not want any sparks. That would be terrible. So I'm just going to use this when I need it. This will be fairly much in its place. In order to make room to get the battery pushed in here, I need to unscrew, I think, at least just these two screws that are holding this countertop in place. I'll also have to slide this floor out of the way. Now to get the battery in there. There we go. Got the solar panel charging up the battery right now. This is how it turned out. It looks like a wiring mess and is far from complete, but I've mounted the solar charger up here onto the inside panel of the wood. The battery is actually strapped down to the truck bed's little eyelid there with a bungee cord. I added a block of wood as well to just wedge it up against this panel, so that way it keeps it from moving side to side. Really, the bungee is more for keeping it from moving back and forth this way, the wood block this way. I still need to tidy up all my wiring and make it look much, much prettier, but this is actually all set up with the power inverter run through the top here. Now that we've got the truck camper electronically rigged out, let's kind of run through an example of when this would be useful. Power on the inverter and get some light going. So now we've got light if I want to be, closed all down, shut down, and just have some light inside to work maybe. Let's say my phone's dead from running around all day, trying to get to where I'm going for my filming. Go ahead, throw that on charge. Maybe I want to drop some footage off of my camera so that way I can then make some more space on my SD cards or my storage for the camera and make sure that the client's footage halfway through the day is nice and safe. Pretty sweet little setup here. Very stoked to have the inverter ready to go at any moment. I just need to plug it into the battery and I'm off to the races with power. And I can run power to most small electronics. It's a 750 watt inverter, so I don't know the exact, 750 watts is its max, but I haven't really tried to test with bigger appliances what its capabilities are. I've used it mainly for lights and charging devices. I'm quite happy with this setup. It's kind of like an office away from home when I need it. These came in today. New handles for the Tacoma. I'm not gonna install the passenger side. I'm only gonna install the driver's side today. I'll just keep the passenger handy just because the one that's on there is still good. The driver's side, however, we're gonna swap this out. So to get this off, we need to take the interior panel off. I'm also going to grease the mechanism from the door handle so that way we don't continue breaking door handles and things move a little bit easier. Right through here now we can see the door handle from the inside. There's, I believe, two 10 mil bolts. You can see one there, and then there's another one on the other side that holds the handle in place. So I'll go ahead and remove those. And we're also gonna have to remove the locking key, but I'm not too sure how to do this all yet, so we're gonna do it step by step. Going through this port here seems pretty useful to get to the inner 10 mil bolt on the door handle. I've now got the new handle all situated, and fortunately, it does in fact work if I didn't just lock myself out of the truck. So what's great is, oh, we can peel this off. So satisfying. So we can see that it does in fact open much better. One issue though is I still can't lock the door. For some reason the mechanism in here doesn't want to lock the door, but if I lock the door from the inside, I can in fact unlock it. Looky what just came in from UPS. Our new center carrier bearing, branded Spicer, with the part number right there ending in an X. However, if you look on the rubber casing here, it says Toyota. So led to believe that this is in fact essentially a Toyota OEM part, but for a lot cheaper. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on the truck. I'm gonna spare you guys the install since I've already done a video. I'll try and link the old video up in the corner here, but I'll show you guys when it's all installed and we can then listen for the noise and see if the new carrier bearing got rid of it. No noise whatsoever from that drive line. You can hear my clutch pedal shifting through the gears to get up to a higher speed, but you can't hear any noise from the drive line. So it was most definitely a bad center carrier bearing. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around. Stay tuned for the next one. Keep elevating. Adios.